birthplace of English America. Here on Roanoke Island, over 350 years ago, Sir Walter Raleigh's colonists landed to settle and trade with the natives. The drama of these beginnings, the lost colony, here on the actual site of the landing. It tells the story of the courageous pioneers and of the birth of the first child to English parents in this new world, Virginia Dare. This first attempt of English-speaking people to colonize the Western Hemisphere resulted in one of the unsolved mysteries of the story of America. Centuries later, within sight of old Fort Raleigh, modern pioneers first gave wings to man. 300 miles of sandy coastline make up eastern Carolina's summer playground. Their car parked within yards of the vast Atlantic, these young men will wade into the surf to cast for the huge channel bass. This is one of the state's most popular sports. Look, he's got a strike already. Boy, oh boy, just look at that rod bend. What a whopper. Reel her in, fella. Gosh, that must be close to 40 pounds. All up and down the coast, charter boats and guides are available. These parties are headed for the Gulf Stream, here only 20 miles offshore. Out of sight of land is the lightship on Diamond Shoals, favored territory of the Fighting Dolphin. Reporting the catch by a carrier pigeon is not unusual. Within a few minutes, news that the fish are running will reach land. For his size, the dolphin will fight as much as any fish. His beautiful iridescent colors gleam in the sunlight, but taken from the water, he loses these colors within a matter of seconds. Returning home, however, we hear that another party had had the luck we were looking for. Blue marlin, king of the big game fish. This one was 593.5 pounds, a record for the entire Atlantic coast. The goggler is more hunter than fisherman, for he goes after them in their own element around these old wrecks. The graveyard of the Atlantic. The skeletons of 1,000 ships are scattered along here. Some of these are the remains of pirate crafts against which old Fort Macon originally was built to protect the colonists. Refortified, it played an important part in the war between the states. From its parapets, wild horses sometimes can be seen. Descendants of shipwrecked stock, they now roam the sand dunes, eating scrub grass and digging with their hoofs for water. At one of the many beaches, we come on a typical bunch of American kids at play. Gee, what a melon! With one that size, there should be plenty to go around the crowd. Look out for a fight here. Last one in's a sissy. Boy, what a wonderful color that ocean is. But it seems the girls would rather play leapfrog than get their hair wet. Art students flock to the sunny coast every summer, at least one school attracting international talent. Sketching, painting, and sculpture are probably the most popular courses. These girls, students in marine biology, have no fears of the creepy horseshoe crab. Oh, just look at that thing. And now the professor passes around a bowl of what someday will be terrapin soup. Uh-oh. An abandoned lighthouse is only one point of interest on this island in North Carolina, a state where in the same month you can bask on tropical beaches or ski on snow-covered mountains. Leaving the dense undergrowth and palmetto bushes, our guide points out the lovely herons and egrets, part of the remarkably varied bird life. Why, looky here, a family squabble. Hey there, stop it. Below, two insectivorous plants seldom found elsewhere. The pitcher plant imprisons its victim deep down in its stem. The Venus flytrap, a very rare plant, illustrates nature's mechanical bent. You better act fast, Mr. Caterpillar. No, you can't get anywhere that way. Oh, the poor little thing. His crawling days are over. Under moss-laden oaks, we drive to Orton, typical example of the beautiful plantations of the Old South. The mansion, in a formal setting of camellias and azaleas, has been occupied continuously for over 200 years. Further north are Dutch settlers, from whose fields millions of blossoms and bulbs are shipped to all parts of the world. The whole town goes Dutch at festival time, as you can see by the costumes. Edenton was the political and commercial center in colonial days and is rich in historical lore. Inside this Francis Corbin house, one can examine documents older than the nation itself. North Carolina is a fruitful land. Strawberries are shipped by the millions of baskets. And peach orchards line highways in the Sandhills section. And throughout the season, colored hands tramp the melon patches, tapping the fruit to determine its ripeness or turning it over for further exposure to the sun. Raleigh, like the nation's capital, was established as the seat of government before the city was built. The Capitol building is a masterpiece of architecture, widely admired by students of art. Golfers from the north and south meet annually at Carolina resorts for national tournaments. And as a change from golf, there's available practically any other activity a person might want. The South is well known for its local horse shows, and here we catch the color of the judges' ring, with stable hands exciting the horses to their best pose. The American Kennel Club puts on a show which we catch at the Best in Show stage. In higher education, we find the contrast of years. The University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill is the oldest state-supported university in the nation. And only 12 miles away at Durham is the new and also great Duke University. Among the most valuable of North Carolina's crop is tobacco. Here is the plant itself. The bottom leaves ripen first with a slight touch of color at their green edges. It's a signal for the start of long hours and burdensome labor. In this day of mass production, the growing of tobacco still remains a family affair, with each member turning out to help prepare the leaves for the curing barn, where they're hung up to dry before transfer to the warehouse for auction. The state not only manufactures more than 1/3 of the world's cigarettes, but also grows the bulk of this tobacco. Cotton, formerly king cotton, now ranks second largest of the cash crops. This Dixie Belle does a mean bit of trucking when it comes to stamping down the fleecy staple. Home of the Moravian settlement in the south, Winston-Salem here takes on the air of a charming old world scene. While in Charlotte, largest city of the state, cultural life revolves around the old Mint Museum. Continuing westward, we pause at the village of Belmont, where theological students attend the only cathedral abbey in the United States. Chimney Rock, like a sentinel guarding the western highlands, is accessible by car to its base and by horse just short of its summit, though the ambitious may walk to the top. Far below there is Lake Lure. Now watch that man on the right there. Here he comes. Whee! Doesn't it look simple? And it is easy enough, if you only know how. South of Asheville is one of the world's great estates, the Biltmore House, the chateau of French architecture. Enormous rhododendrons, which grow larger here than anywhere else in the world, are in wild profusion on the mountainside. A land of state and national parks and forests, of enchanting views against blue and white skies, framing the gorgeous mountains with wild foliage, the Sapphire Country is a fairyland of hundreds of cascades and waterfalls. That tucks away perhaps the most beautiful cascades in the state. Close by, a branch of the Colossaji River drops beautifully over the highway like a bridal veil. And within half a mile, the Parent River, a powerful stream of water, leaps over a cliff into the steep gorge, forming an arch under which it is possible to walk. And in contrast to the rushing waters, here is a lovely lake and fishing place, but practical in its beauty and setting also, for the streams and rivers in the mountains have been harnessed for industrial use. The hydroelectric power thus available has helped the small farmer immeasurably, but even more is responsible for the influx of industry. Tucked away in the mountains are many craft and folklore schools that are quietly fostering spare time activities and preserving old-time arts, which are handed down from generation to generation. For the visitor, it's a lot of fun to hunt around for the many things these fine-looking old people make, both for themselves and for sale. Most of them make beautiful gifts, and after watching them being made, you value them all the more. furniture, and basket weaving are real old-time art. A spinning wheel, and the thing actually works. This is the first time I've seen one outside of a museum. The hand looms are not commonly seen either. And here's what happens to your old rags. But then, what better use could be made of them? From sheets of pliable silver is hammered novelty jewelry. And lovely indeed are the finished pieces. Fashioned from the varied colored clays so common to North Carolina, and in this case dug only a few feet from his wheel, the potter's art is a fascinating thing to watch. Pottery making is one of the oldest of the arts, yet it's one of the state's modern industries. Pitchers, churns, crocks, jugs, jars, and many household articles and utensils are made of its wonderful variety of clays. Stalwart descendants of a proud race, the Cherokees are the only group of original Carolina Indians still retaining their tribal entity on their homelands. Though most are farmers, many have taken to handcrafts, and some of these oldsters can't or won't speak English to this day. But generally, the singing beauty of the Cherokee language is used only to a limited extent. Nonetheless, it will live on forever in the lilting names of Nantahala, Culloway, Santitla, Cataluche, Okanalefte, Conahita, and many others. The crowd is collecting to see the stickball game also. With a hickory nut for a ball and a no-holds-barred rule, these original Americans have played this game for hundreds of years. Don't ask us who's winning. We can't figure the game out either. No national highway in the entire Appalachian chain runs at a greater altitude than this one between Clingman's Dome and Newfound Gap in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Mount Mitchell, towering nearly 7,000 feet, is the loftiest peak in the mountains of North Carolina, which are also the highest in eastern America. We leave it to you to judge their beauty. At Blowing Rock, legend tells us that thrown from this precipice by a stronger warrior, an Indian maiden saw her betrothed disappear, but the wind gods caught up her lover and returned him to safety. Since that day, any object tossed over the gorge has been returned. And about 3,000 feet below the rock, well, funny that sign doesn't worry them. What's that you say? Oh, he's the gamekeeper's cousin. That everlasting question, which is the better? Now, this one always brings me good luck. Yes, I know it seems to work. Oh, well, they seem to have it settled anyway. A speckled trout. Isn't he a beauty? Easy does it. Ah, here we are. A brown this time. And in she goes. If you like horses, how about a trip out of any one of the many dewed ranches up in these mountains? Now, here's a pack train leaving for a 10-day ride through the Great Smokies. They'll see the kind of territory explored by De Soto half a century even before the time of the lost colony, unchanged to this day except for slight development of the original Indian trails so as to allow for horses. Terminus of the greatest scenic drive in the world, the Blue Ridge Parkway, which enters the state at its northern boundary, this justly famous national park provides a variety of bird and plant life that is the delight of thousands of naturalists, many of whom start their acquaintance of the territory on a horseback trip like this one. In trees and shrubs, the variety available is said to be greater than can be found in any like area in the world, which explains the unmatched coloring of these mountains throughout the 4 seasons. Rarefied air atop these 6,000-foot North Carolina mountains, southern boundary of the balsam belt, brings deep slumber to the riders who sink down on the foot-thick moss for a perfect night's rest under the stars. Yes, this is North Carolina, the old North State, yours and ours. From its mountains to the ocean, and with simple hospitality, its home folk bid you welcome.